What's up, guys? Kevin Perbasi here again to talk sports with you guys today. Usually, I keep it pretty national with my sports talk, trying to pertain to big topics about the sports world, specifically NBA, NFL, MLB, the big main sports. But per request from my viewers, there was a desire to talk about what is going on with UCLA football right now, and this one kind of hits close to home for me. I go to UCLA, so a big UCLA fan, and it's been a rough season, obviously, so far. Start off 0-5. And actually, I apologize. My voice is gone right now from going to the game yesterday. But I wanted to dive into it because a lot of people are wondering, is Chip Kelly supposed to be the savior for this team? And right now, there's a lot of issues. Obviously, UCLA going 0-5, not good. Mora, in the last few years, had a much better record to start off with. And people are wondering, what's going on? Was Kelly a mistake? And I guess the short answer is no. There's a lot of reasons that this season has gone how it's gone this far. First, there have been some disappointing losses, but a couple of the losses are really good teams. It was the Washington at home, and actually a really competitive last night. It looked like they belonged in that game against Washington. And he was on the road in Norman against the Sooners and Kyler Murray, who's a potential Heisman candidate. Now, some of the other three losses maybe not as excusable, but I think there's going to be some growing pains, especially with their transition to Chip Kelly. So one of the first reasons that I think this has been such a choppy transition is Chip Kelly's playing a lot of freshmen and people who haven't really played before. He's starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who's a true freshman. They're playing freshmen on defense. The center is a true freshman. And with that youth, there's a lot of inexperience and a lot of opportunity for mistakes. And if you've watched some of the UCLA games this far, Dorian Thompson-Robinson's got a ton of talent. And in a few years, maybe even next year, will be a difference maker for this team. But you can tell he's really feeling out the ropes. He's nowhere near the Josh Rosen that we had last year. And even Josh Rosen as a freshman was much more refined and polished coming in. Now, Dorian Thompson-Robinson could be special, and I think that's why Kelly is starting him. But you have to keep that in mind when you're watching these games. The offense has been the main issue for UCLA this year, and one of those reasons is because they're starting a true freshman quarterback. When he starts to get a better handle of the offense and what's going on and how to handle college, you'll see this offense kind of take off. And I think we saw that a little bit last night. Put up 24 points against a Washington team, made it competitive for much of the second half, and finally we're able to get the ball moving. It's starting to click for DTR, but it's going to be a learning process, as it is with any quarterback. And remember, this guy wasn't the starter coming into camp. He was very much fighting with Devon Monster and Wilton Speight for the job. And if you guys remember, Wilton Speight actually started the first game against Cincinnati. He got knocked out of that game, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson was thrust into the starting quarterback role from there on. And so he hasn't necessarily had those reps throughout training camp, and he wasn't there for spring ball to be able to get the knowledge and get a handle of the system. I think one of the things that we've seen is Chip Kelly runs a very diverse offense. I know he does say he keeps it simple. He runs the same 5-6 plays. But what comes along with that is he has a lot of window dressing, motions here, motions there, and different formations and looks to get to that same play. And it's a lot for a young quarterback, especially taking charge of a new program who has all these expectations now with the new coach and Chip Kelly coming in. It's a lot to balance. And so I think there's definitely a learning curve and a process that comes along with that. Also, when you have a true freshman center is really important to the offensive line, calling out the protections and different things like that. And so the youth of this team has really had an impact. And people may question, why is Chip doing this? Why is he playing all these freshmen? Why isn't he playing some of the more experienced guys? Well, I think one, Chip Kelly's got a lot of job security right now. He knows he was a big hire for UCLA, and he has the comfort in knowing he doesn't have to succeed this year. He's looking for 2, 3, 4 years down the road. I want to have the best team possible. And by getting all these young guys the experience now, and building the best team for the future. And so he's very much a long-term outlook. And that really comes with the faith that Guerrero's put into him trusting him with his football program, and hopefully he can turn it around. Now, some people are also like, well, Chip Kelly stepped right into Oregon and was immediately successful. A little bit, uh, a little bit not true there. So different situations. At UCLA, Chip Kelly just comes straight into the program. When he was at Oregon, he was the offensive coordinator for a few years before he actually took over this coaching job. So it looks like, well, Kelly jumped in 4 seasons, 46-7, or whatever his record. I think it was 46-7 over those 4 years. But that's really misleading, because in actuality, he was the offensive coordinator for those 3 years, or like I believe it was 2 or 3 years, and he had the opportunity to instill his system. All the players, those sophomores, juniors, seniors, knew what his system already. They were comfortable with it. They knew what plays were coming, and so once he takes the reins, he can kind of just run with it. And another key part of that is throughout the whole his tenure as the offensive coordinator at Oregon, he also had the opportunity to recruit, and specifically recruit guys specifically for his system. And I think, as we've seen, very much runs an up-tempo system. You need speed on the outside, fast twitch players that can make plays in space. That's what those Oregon teams were built around. And Kelly coming in and either, I believe it was late December last year, in the middle of recruiting season, not really able to tap into that talent. And even so, the players he was able to get, the Casimir Allens, Chase Cotas, different players like that, they haven't had the opportunity to actually learn the system. Whereas when he was stepped into this role at Oregon, he had sophomores, juniors that he had recruited who have already learned the system for 2-3 years. And that really helped ease that transition for him as he took over at Oregon. Now, another piece that I think is being missed a little bit is the transition from a pro-style offense to now the spread, the up-tempo attack that Chip Kelly runs. A couple years ago for Josh Rosen, we brought in a new offensive coordinator and very much went to a pro-style offense to help maximize what Josh brought to the team. And came with that, there was a devotion to running the football, very much I formation, single back, pound the ball and get more of the play action pass, under center, different things like that to take advantage of that skill set for Rosen and really showcase his talent. But those players don't necessarily fit in the spread system. Kelly wants offensive linemen who can move quickly, who can, you want to get 90 plays in a game under Chip Kelly's system. And with the current recruits that came in from Mora, there was tailored more towards that pro-style offense. And it makes that transition difficult because the returning guys knew a completely different offense. Very much a 2 tight end sets, receivers, running back, quarterback under center. And now you're asking them to go 3 wide, 1 tailback, and a quarterback in the shotgun. And now you're running read options. Read options I haven't been run since in 3 years at UCLA, and none of these guys don't have that experience running this type of offense. And so it's not only the freshmen who are trying to figure everything out, it's also the sophomores, juniors, and seniors, the upperclassmen. They have to understand what is Kelly trying to accomplish on these plays, and so that's going to make it a little bit difficult just jumping in and being successful, especially because it's such a drastic transition from pro style to a spread attack. And so you really have to keep that in mind. And so I think the best way to approach this beginning of the season, yes, is a disappointment. I would be the first to tell you I wish we were better than 0-5. It's been a huge disappointment for me. It's personally my senior year here at UCLA to have that struggle. It's frustrating, but I think the best plan of attack as a UCLA fan, and very much biased, I completely admit I'm biased in this situation, but I think the best plan of attack for us is just to be patient. Chip knows what he's doing. He's been successful pretty much everywhere he's gone. People like to talk about how he failed in the NFL. Dude was 10-6 his first 2 years in the NFL and really changed a lot of the offensive play styles in the pros. This last year with the Eagles was a little bit of a struggle, but that's when he kind of took over the roster a little bit. Maybe when you're in the pros, you really have to focus on the key talent. When you're in college, it's a little you maybe more want players that fit your system because you have such a large pool, but he tried to get players that fit his system, and that failed. That being said, Kelly's shown a propensity to succeed at the college level, especially at Oregon. I mean, he's been in this conference before. He knows the recruiting waters, and he knows the type of system he wants to run, and it's just going to take a little while to implement that. Might not be as quick as it looked at Oregon, but again, remember, he was offensive coordinator there. He already had time to kind of smooth that over, and he finished transition to head coach. And also, it's a bigger market at UCLA. I mean, there's more to complicate the situation. So I think the best thing we can do is really just be patient. Chip Kelly's a smart guy. We've got to have faith. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson's showing flashes. Last night, we've had back-to-back games with 100-yard rushers with Josh Kelly running all over Washington last night. Dorian Thompson-Robinson made some plays, made a lot of freshman mistakes, but that's what happens when you're starting a true freshman. I mean, Josh Rosen, when he came in, we were spoiled. He was immediately successful for us at UCLA, and it's going to take a little bit more time for DTR. And also, I think something that this season kind of highlights is how many flaws Josh Rosen really covered for this team last year. Obviously, we were 6-17 last year, but if you look at the talent on the roster, it's just not there. And Josh Rosen went in the top 10 in the draft to the Arizona Cardinals, I believe 10 or 11, something like that. And he really masked a lot of the flaws that this team has, and you're seeing those come to light this year. I mean, receivers aren't overly talented. I mean, Rosen had incredible ball placement that DTR just doesn't have right now, and I don't know if he'll ever have that ball placement because Rosen can put the ball anywhere a receiver needs it, and that's a skill that sometimes it's hard to see, but the way he's able to thread the needle, which is extremely rare in the collegiate level, really helped bring out the best in the receivers. Caleb Wilson, Theo Howard, and not to say that we have bad talent, but it's not as great as maybe it looked last year, the high-powered attack that Josh Rosen led. So, guys, just got to be patient. I think it'll work out. Chip Kelly knows what he's doing, and got some good young talent. DTR looks like he can be special. We just got to give him time. Thanks, guys, for listening. Go UCLA football.